Dan Tortora here on Wake Up Call from AAC Media Days in Arlington, Texas. I am sitting here side by side with the head coach of the East Carolina Pirates, Mike Houston. Mike, always appreciate having you on the show.
Appreciate you. Good to be on here with you.
And good to have you here. And I remember the day you came in and what you were working toward at East Carolina. Bring me into that first day to where we are right now, because the mission and the vision that you had, from my point of view, things are working. I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Well, I probably won't try to forget that first year at least, and maybe the pandemic year too. But when you take over a program that's down, there's going to be some tough days. There's going to be a lot that has to go into it, and there was a lot that needed to change, and it was not always easy and pleasant. And there were some tough times, especially that first year. I think the pandemic, it was not something I ever want to go through again, but I do think that probably helped bring our young roster closer. And we started a ton of freshmen that year. And those freshmen are now, they've been playing for 3 years. And so they've grown and they've developed, and now they're big, strong, young men that are very experienced. And so you look at the program, and if you look at the performance on the field over the year, I do feel like we've elevated our level of play on the field each year, and that's the goal. As we sit here today, we're coming off back-to-back 7-win regular seasons, back-to-back bowl berths, 8-win season last year with a win down at the Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah.
And you're 1 or 2 plays away from possibly a 10-win season last year. So
yeah.
The program, as you see here today, I think is very solid footing. I like our roster. We have depth. We have some experience. We do have some new faces in some spots. We also have some very experienced guys in other spots. So we're excited about this fall.
How do you get to where you got to at this point? Like you said, back-to-back, having at least 7 wins, getting bowl eligible in back-to-back seasons, from going through all that adversity in the beginning and then going through the adversity that everybody went through with COVID. How do you get to a place where this team has been building something and going upward instead of going backward?
Well, I don't think there's any way around it other than just working really hard. And I think that's very cliche-ish to say, but it's from working very hard in recruiting, getting the right players on board, working very hard to develop and build our staff, and not just our on-the-field staff, but our off-the-field staff, and get the right people in the right spots. And then it's just the work that the players and the coaches have put in together in developing the young men, developing them physically, developing their bodies, developing their abilities on the field, developing the team culture, developing the culture of hard-nosed, tough players that work every day, that compete at a high level every day. And all those things, that's what our program is. And so it's not something you just wave a magic wand and just happens. I mean, you gotta just put your hands down in there and go to it. And that's the only way it's going to happen.
What brought you to East Carolina when you reflect hindsight 2020? Why was it the right fit at the time for your career, and why does it continue to be?
Well, obviously, I was a very special place in James Madison, and we'd won at a very high level and achieved a lot there. Yeah. And so, as opportunities came, I was very selective, because I think that you don't just leave James Madison. But I knew East Carolina University very well. I knew the tradition there. I knew what East Carolina could be. I knew the support that you had there, the passionate fans. And for my wife and I, we're from the state of North Carolina. All of our family is in the Southeast, and it just fits us. It felt like home when we got off the plane in Greenland.
East Carolina doesn't shy away from playing anybody. Non-conference schedule, there's always something to look forward to, and there's opportunities that we see in the state of North Carolina as well over the past few years. What can you say about, obviously we'll get into the American in a second, but that non-conference schedule and testing yourself.
It's going to test us.
I like the laughter that came when I said about testing you.
You have a very good FCS opponent in Gardner-Webb in Game 4. I think they're picked second in their league this year. Went to the playoffs last year. But obviously the opener in Ann Arbor against the University of Michigan, they'll probably rank 2 or 3 preseason. They think they're a legitimate national championship contender, and they return a lot from last year. Preseason Heisman favorite in the running back. I think 7 or 8 offensive linemen that are draftable players. It's just you have a very challenging opener, and then you come back home and you're playing a 9-win Marshall team in our home opener, and then you turn around, you go to Boone to play Appalachian State up there. I think they've lost 3 games in the last 5 years up there. So, our first 4 games before we get to conference play are going to test us, and it's going to show us exactly who we are. Now they've got to play us too.
Yeah,
and that's one thing I don't want anybody to forget. I mean, we got a darn good football team, so those guys got to play us too. So, but you're gonna find a lot out about each other as you go through that non-conference schedule.
in your time at East Carolina, do you believe that you built a sustainable culture where there is an elevation and the players are starting to expect more out of themselves at this point?
I promise you, they have a lot of expectations going into this season and a high level of confidence. And Shane and Jeremy are both here with me this week at media days, and those guys have been in the program for 3 and 4 years respectively, and they are very reflective of what our roster is. And that's a group that has a lot of confidence in themselves, but has a lot of expectations for themselves and each other for what they're going to do on game day. And they do believe in doing it together, which I think is going to be the key for us this year.
We look at the American, 6 new institutions coming in, obviously Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati leaving. We have this new model for 2023 through 2026 at least, where if a student athlete stays 4 seasons, they're going to be able to see every team twice, home and home. And of course, we have the opportunity for East Carolina and UNC Charlotte to have some fun together in the state of North Carolina. What do you think about this model, and what can we see with East Carolina and UNC Charlotte?
Well, I think it's exciting. I mean, I think we're all excited about the new look American Conference. And you have 6 strong programs coming in to join 8 very strong programs that are already here. It is going to be a very challenging league. You have teams that are coming in with these new institutions that are going to compete at a very high level immediately. And we as coaches understand it. I don't know how much the fans understand that, but this is going to be a very challenging league year in and year out. I'm excited about some of the new matchups. I think the rivalry that will develop over time with UNC Charlotte and East Carolina, I think that's great for both schools. I think that's great for the conference. It's 3 hours and some change separate our campuses, and we have a ton of fans and alumni down in Charlotte. So I think it's going to be something that's good for everybody in time.
The expansion of the playoff, is that for you as a head coach of the American, is that music to your ears finally about actually getting representation?
Well, I think you look at how our league has performed over the past decade, and we all know that now all of a sudden, if you're one of the top teams in the American Conference, you have a legitimate path to the national championship. And so I think that's exciting for our coaches. I think that's exciting for our fans. I think that's very exciting for our student athletes. Cincinnati made the playoff in 21. And that was kind of the breakthrough moment because, UCF had been snubbed. Memphis had been blocked out. Cincinnati had been blocked out the year before. So I think just, finally getting a team in the playoff was significant. But now, we feel like our conference champion every year is going to be one of those teams in the playoff.
For you, final note here with Mike Houston of East Carolina, most rewarding part of your job at East Carolina so far?
Those kids. They make my day every day. So I've got great young men in our program, and they're a joy to be around. It's fulfilling. I've got 2 young sons. One's going to be a freshman in high school. The other one's a little bit younger, but they're big into sports. And I bring them around the program, and just, I'm very blessed to be able to do what I do. But those players are what does it for me day in and day out.
I can say something to you that I don't think anybody has said to you up to this point. How does it feel to be the only Houston in the American?
Well, I'm actually kind of glad the other bunch is gone. But no, I'm blessed to be a part of this conference, and blessed to be the coach at East Carolina University.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Great to see you again.
Great to see you too.